All right, this is the Code Breaker. This is Paradox.
And this is D.
All right, man. All right, it is March 12th, 2020.
March 12th, 2020.
So I have been told.
So we have been told. Shout out to Gus T. Renegade.
Renegade.
Still
Still
doing
putting out
your work.
programs.
Still putting out counter racist information. Please, please, please. If you haven't been able to check it out, please check it out to get more informed on the overall system of racism, white supremacy, counters, getting more informed, getting less confused, things that you can do that are counterproductive, not counter, but productive into living in the world that we're living in today. So I guess which brings us into what we're going to talk about today, which is probably one of the reasons why we wanted to do this program is to look beyond the veil of some of the things that go on and kind of do a little bit more of an analysis up to what we can do online anyway when it comes down to things like this. So of course what everybody is dealing with right now and the hysterica the hysterics out there dealing with this
Hysteria. Yeah.
hysteria dealing with the pandemic, which is known as the COVID 19 virus, which is coronavirus, which is basically caught on and now is basically taking over the world landscape at this particular moment. So guess we're going to play a couple of videos and kind of get a little bit more informed, and hopefully if anybody wants to come on and we're going to come on and talk about this issue, but we're going to be real serious about it. We'll be more than happy to chop it up with you guys, but definitely we want to keep it very, very serious because this is a serious topic, and we can get into it, man, whenever you're ready.
In every group of RNA viruses, I was looking up the definition for it. Actually, you don't have a website up there. You should pull up this website. Oh, I guess I could do that. What am I talking about? They have the World Health Organization has a thing has a pretty extensive definition.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you kind of broke up a little bit, real bad there. What were you saying?
I'm trying to load this World Health Organization website up. That's why.
Oh, okay. But could it be because I already have the that video back in the background? Maybe that could be the issue.
I thought that was on your side of the internet, but it could be. Yeah, for sure, could be.
Do you want me to take it down, and then you?
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. You can hear me. It caught up with it, so it kind of delayed.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find. Thought I may have had. Oh, there we go. So let's share. Can you see that?
Let me see. Yep.
That sort of gives the explanation that the coronaviruses, COV, are large family of viruses that causes illness ranging from the common cold to more serious diseases such as the MERS or severe. They were saying that umbrella has MERS under it as a string, SARS, and then they're calling. I also hear some doctors call it the novel coronavirus as well. Is a new strand that has not been previously identified in humans.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
know that they were saying. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, they said they had one that was part of the strand that was located in bats also.
Yeah, and they think it jumped from bats to that weird animal, that
Hmm.
exotic animal over in Wuhan, or however you pronounce it, Wuhan, China. But anyway, then it says coronaviruses are, what is this, zoonotic, zoonotic, meaning that are transmitted between animals and people. Detailed investigations found that SARS was transmitted cast to humans. Several known coronas are circulating in animals that have not yet infected humans. That's interesting. You know what's crazy is that that
You
that
breaking up a little
that
bit.
that medical still breaking up.
Oh, there is a delay. Okay, so there must be a delay then, even when on my side of it. Hold on, let me see. Uh,
That's what I was telling you. We should be. I took the page down because we can't do. It won't let me do it. What about now?
yeah, it's better. What about now on my end? Is it still good? Or
No, you good. I closed the website, so that's cool.
okay.
But anyway, they were saying that the viruses. What was I saying? Oh, I forgot. I lost my train of thought that quick. But anyway, so that was kind of the definition of it, and you know, it gives us some information, I guess. As far as where we are right now.
Yeah, and
But I
everything
still don't think
is
they fully understand it. They still don't fully. I
no.
don't
I
think they
mean,
still
and
fully understand it.
this is that is still being out. It's being tested into the open field right now.
Hmm.
So we don't even know what kind of damage it's going to do until it runs its course, until it's actually out there too. We're in the middle of it right now, so it's there now. So we're here, now. So it broke out in China back in December. So now it's
That's what
pretty
they
much
tell us.
from what we've been told. December 2019 is the beginning date, I guess, of an official case being on record
Hmm.
in
which
Wuhan.
which this country knew about.
Yeah, in Wuhan, Hubei,
Is
Japan.
what
I
they
mean,
say.
China. I'm sorry. Of course, and now it's pretty much it's a pandemic. It's global. The genie's out the
Based off
bottle,
of the
so to
World
speak.
Health, based off what the World Health Organization announced.
Right,
Uh,
right,
today, I think they announced it,
right. So
and they
today
were
seems
and
to
they were
be
and they were hesitant. They were hesitant to announce that as well. A lot of politics is being played right now.
yeah, today seems to be the kind of like unveiling a little bit of what's taking place, because everything is becoming restrictive now.
Hmm.
Games and counseling, money is
It's
being,
late.
yeah, it's late in the game, no doubt about it. It's been out there, but I guess they couldn't put a cap on it, and now it's more serious than what everybody thought it would be. So
Yeah, I
here
think they
here
put a
we
lot of
are.
pressure. I think they put a lot of pressure on the World Health Organization not to call it a pandemic, even though you already had countries and even governors in this country calling it a pandemic.
Right.
But like you said, what I found funny is that, well, not funny, what I found interesting was that you can almost see the dominoes finally, not even the dominoes, we've finally seen the dam crash
Mm.
because they tried to hold this off, but once the head doctor, I forget his name right now, once he said what he said, we're gonna play a little bit of that. When he said what he said, literally it seemed like right after that, the World Health Organization called it a pandemic, and then right after that, in this country, everything started closing, and he gives the big speech at 9 o'clock last night, and I'm just looking at it like, yo, it's so obvious what y'all are doing as far as trying to hold back any kind of news on the disease as it continues to spread.
Hmm.
It's disgusting to say the least. But did you have any other words before you play the first clip?
No, I think we should let the clips kind of speak for itself, and then we can kind of get into it right after that. So,
All right.
just let me know when you're ready.
I just added it.
All right. So here's the first clip by Chris Hayes. Let me know if it can't be heard initially. Chris Hayes on how the U.S. is on Italy's coronavirus trajectory. So here it is. Chris Hayes.
Of a global pandemic that's been evident. The World Health Organization officially declared coronavirus a pandemic because of the widespread scale of the outbreak. WHO has been working on this virus from the beginning when it first broke out in Wuhan, China. They saw how it took down an entire city's healthcare system and resulted in over 3,000 deaths in China. WHO has been warning about coronavirus for months, but they have been reluctant to make the pandemic declaration for fears of inciting panic. Until today, when they decided that now is the time.
WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction.
Alarming levels of inaction. That message there, similar to Dr. Anthony Fauci, a guy who's run the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases since 1984. He's worked under 6 presidents, played a major pivotal role in reining in the AIDS crisis today before the House Oversight Committee. And he was forthright and he was honest about what is coming at us right now, unlike the president.
Is the worst yet to come, Dr. Fauci?
Yes, it is.
Is there any chance we will have a vaccine in a few months?
No, I made myself clear in my statement. This is a really serious problem that we have to take seriously. I mean, people always say, well, the flu does this, the flu does that. The flu has a mortality of 0.1%. Sure. This has a mortality of 10 times that. We would hope that as we get to warmer weather, it would go down. But we can't proceed under that assumption. We've got to assume that it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Dr. Fauci's testimony today was almost literally the exact opposite of what President Trump and members of his administration have been telling us for weeks and weeks. We finally got to hear a candid version of the truth from a genuine expert, unedited. Here is where things stand right now. This exponential curve shows the growth of coronavirus cases outside of China. Right now, there are nearly 40 outside of China where the outbreak appears to be under control. This is what the U.S. curve looks like. Almost identical, right? Looks a lot like the global curve we just saw. In the U.S., 4 weeks ago, we had 15 cases. Just over a week ago, we had 100 cases. Today, we have over 1,200 cases. That number probably does not even capture the reality because our testing capacity is not actually measuring the scope of the problem. What is clear is we are racing up this exponential curve at an almost similar rate to the countries that have gone before us. For instance, Italy. Italy right now is in the midst of a full-blown public health crisis. The country is completely on lockdown. Today, a new measure announced. Italy announced it will stop almost all commercial activity aside from supermarkets and pharmacies. Think about that for a second. Everything closed except for drugstores and food. Italy also announced today they now have over 12,000 cases, and the total deaths in the country have increased, listen to this, have increased over 30% from 631 to 827. 30% increase in fatalities in one day. This chart shows the rapid growth of cases in Italy. Does that look familiar? It should. You can also see how the U.S. is right now following almost the exact same trajectory, just a week behind. Now, many, if not most of those deaths in Italy are likely a direct result of what we have already seen with this virus in Wuhan, China. The virus is overrunning the healthcare system capacity. Anywhere in the world, at any given time, in any given city, there's a fixed amount of doctors, ICUs, beds, ventilators. The systemic risk the virus poses to everyone around the world right now, including in the U.S., is what is happening now in Italy. Doctors in that country are intubating patients in hallways. Massive numbers of healthcare workers are infected. They're having to make wartime triage decisions about who they can afford to treat. The Atlantic reports on a remarkable document issued by an Italian medical college that recommends doctors allocate their stress of recovery. Italian doctors are being forced to decide who to save and who to let die. Tom Boser, Trump's former Homeland Security advisor, told NBC News yesterday that we are 10 days away from the hospitals getting creamed. We are now 9 days away. That is where we are headed right now in this country. The only thing we can do at this point as citizens, as civil society, because the testing has been screwed up inexcusably by the federal government, is to
Oh,
So my joint fell off, right?
oh, that was you falling off?
Did you fall off too?
Nah, I was watching you. I was watching it happen though. I'm like, is the network going down on
Yeah.
us?
Nah, man, it fell off.
I know everybody. I know.
Let me jump back into it, man, because that was the most important part. I don't want nobody to miss that, because I think that hopefully we can stay on a little bit. Can you see it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I think I jumped. I think it jumped down for a minute there.
Yeah, go back. Yeah, you're gonna go back a couple minutes, but yeah, about a minute.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it was, right around here. Yeah, I think we're good there.
in this country. The only thing we can do at this point as citizens, as civil society, because the testing has been screwed up inexcusably by the federal government, is to take dramatic steps collectively to socially distance ourselves. Of this epidemic, slow the transmission of the virus in order to stop a run on our hospitals, to protect vulnerable populations in our midst. That's older people, people with serious chronic medical conditions like heart disease, lung disease, and diabetes. We all have people in our lives that are vulnerable to this. And the clear steps to take are canceling large-scale events and reducing travel, reducing going out, even going to restaurants or events. We need to take this all deadly seriously. You can go read the warnings from Italians who said we did not take this seriously enough, and now we are in it. That's their message to us. That message, however, is not being adequately communicated at all by the most powerful person in the country. Someone we'll be hearing from later tonight, a man who insists on propagating disinformation and meeting with CEOs to discuss an economic problem. But the right message is being communicated by people in administration like Dr. Fauci, by former Trump administration officials like Tom Boser and former FDA chief Scott Gottlieb, by governors like Washington's Jay Inslee, who today announced their events over 250 people. The reality is we have to take dramatic steps. And we are only now at this late hour starting to see those steps in action.
All right, but were you able to hear it or what?
Yeah, it came through. Yeah, it was good.
Cool. So what are your initial thoughts on that, man? Since there's been a lot of myths, a lot of different things, especially misinformation, man, from our people. Let me
Well, I mean, I
just
think on. Go ahead.
say that. Let me say this real quick to anybody that's listening out there, and I mean this wholeheartedly, because I think we're under the illusion that something like this would have never happened. Even under the gaze of what the power is as far as the system is concerned, as far as what people believe the apparatus of the system is, they believed in it wholeheartedly. And now it's actually came to the point where people are vulnerable, and the most vulnerable people in this particular country, and for that matter, on the globe and in the world, are those are non-white, and then those are specifically been classified or forced into the classification of being black. So what does that mean? There's a lot of people that's going to give out a lot of misinformation when it comes down to this. And what I would tell anybody, because you are working with a media apparatus that is already deceptive in nature, is to be very, very discerning on the information that you listen to. Be aware of who you're taking in as far as their motives, as far as informing you. Be quiet, baby girl. Be cool, baby girl. Okay. Be aware of people giving you misinformation. That's where I would like to leave it, just as before we get deeply into this discussion, because I don't want people, especially that listen to our program, to think for a moment that we're going to take your intelligence for granted, that we're trying to inform you one way or the other. We want people to be as informed as possible. We want you to be safe. We want you to be aware, so to speak, without no filter. We don't have any kind of motives here outside of basically informing those people that are classified as black, or anybody else that's looking for information out here. So I just wanted to just get that on out there before we get deeply into this conversation. So that's kind of like my salvo into this, because what I've been hearing online, man, like I said in one chat, like that need to be right, to be first, yo, squash that, man. Like that whole, I'm right about this, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. None of us, and I mean that, none of us, and that includes PQ. Like I said, we in HQ, we're in the DC area. For any of us that knows about how this area even works, you know that you see it wholeheartedly. You know, normally it happens here from the beginning.
Did you just drop out? I think you may have went mute. I guess we'll have to wait for DC to make its way back to the channel. Know what just happened with his system. But I will give him another minute. But we are going to try to touch on probably the healthcare system, the American healthcare system, the economy, military, personal, the global impact, maybe even some other details with, sports events closing, school closings, the National Guard being activated in different states. And maybe even who you voted for, if you vote, as far as the people who run this system, the state, local levels, and their either incompetence or intelligence as far as how to manage all this stuff and mitigate a lot of problems as well. Because these appear to be the people making decisions. And maybe even some other future stuff where in the future if we project it out, will we see some other change, like maybe some more surveillance or something as well? Because we're talking about really trillions of dollars in loss, and probably going to be billions of dollars a month in loss as far as the economic piece. But let's see. Is he going to get on? Get back on.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I
Can you hear me?
can now.
Yeah, my bad, man. My bad. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know where I even left off at. Where did I drop off at, man?
So I just put out a quick list of things we're going to talk about, but you were talking about misinformation.
Oh yeah. Okay, damn, that far back. Yeah, so just we're not here to misinform Black people. As far as we don't have ulterior motives, we both are well taken care of. We can take care of ourselves, so we don't do this for any monetary gain. Not saying that that's anything wrong with that, but we're here to just try to inform people and to give people an avenue to get less confused and to have more of a balanced conversation than what you normally listen to, especially in Black YouTube, whether it's part of the manosphere, not part of the manosphere, whatever the section that you reside in. So the conscious arena, whatever the case. So, but nah, man, if you want, man, we can play the next clip if you want.
Yep. Go ahead and play it.
Go from there, and then we'll get into the discussion after that. So just give me one moment. Let me pull that up really quick here. Let's see. So the two patients who
among my patients, I often see them have heat sensitivity as well as gum issues. Among my patients, I often see them have heat sensitivity as well as gum issues. Does it worry me? Absolutely. When you sensitize sensitivity and gum, it's a dual action effect that really takes care of both our heat sensitivity as well as our gum issues. There's no question.
All right, so just give me one.
You are more like
1 second here. Let's see. Let me know when it's up and running. You see it?
It's up.
All right, cool. So this is I think this is from actually today too. So this is what constitutes a compromised immune system. A little bit more information on the COVID virus 19.
To be in trouble. Great question. Compromised immune system. Do autoimmune diseases like lupus, alopecia, MS fall under this?
That's a great question. It's a question I'm getting from my patients since I'm a rheumatologist. But so classically, we think of chronic diseases that could affect your immune system would be chronic hypertension, heart disease, diabetes. Certain people with underlying lung disease are at greater risk for having a complication from a respiratory illness. Patients who are also currently being treated with immunosuppressive medicines, either, for example, for their arthritis, or patients who are on chemo to treat cancer, are obviously also immunocompromised. There is a varying degree of, I would say, innate susceptibility when you have a condition such as lupus or RA, but you're not being treated. We know that there is some altered immunity there, but how much of that is going to play a role in this particular outbreak as opposed to the flu or any other thing, we just don't know yet. So I would say the take home here is that for people who do have underlying autoimmune or inflammatory conditions who are not being treated with medicine, you're going to be even extra vigilant. Work from home if you can. That's the guidance that I'm giving my patients now. If you are on medicine category that you're at greater risk.
We heard from a number of patients actually, who are
Yeah.
dealing with one malady in particular. Here's what Jess had to add. I keep hearing that people with diabetes are more at risk. Does this apply to type 1 diabetics as well? I'm a 38-year-old type 1 and my blood sugars are not perfect. Am I more at risk? Type 1 groups have been asking this question by the thousands every day with no answers. First of all, remind us what type 1 diabetes is, and then if we can get an answer to Jess's question.
Yeah, so type 1 is generally considered an autoimmune disease. That's usually patients present when they're younger. They tend to be insulin dependent. Their bodies literally don't make insulin. Type generally referred to as insulin resistance. It's associated with obesity. That's where your body's making insulin, but you're not responding to it, or you can't utilize it, I should say. But both conditions are characterized by elevated blood glucose levels that can have, significance in terms of chronic sequelae. The specific question of whether or not a type 1 is more or less I'll be completely honest, I'm not sure that I can tell you specifically. What I would say is that poor glucose control in general, since it's associated with so many other consequences, would be the most important thing, not whether or not it's type 1 or type 2. If there's any endocrinologists out there who have a better answer for me, I'm happy to hear it.
Well, let me ask a question that all of us found fascinating, and it really speaks to where we are today, very different. I'm a student, Reggie says, at Loyola Marymount University, but with the coronavirus outbreak and the flood of information, both reliable and non-reliable, I was wondering if young kids, adults who juul, vape, smoke are at the same risk as elderly people for respiratory and other complications from coronavirus.
We got a ton of questions on vaping, by the way.
Lots. I started seeing that, and I need to dig deep on that.
Yeah, please.
Oh, no, I mean, not at the moment.
Smoking and vaping equally affect the lungs. I won't say exactly equally, but vaping is smoking to a degree. So you're automatically lowering your immune system and lowering your resilience when you're vaping as well as when you're smoking.
Before we get to the question from Laura, I should also just note that for station, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Yeah.
And there'll be plenty of questions that we just don't have an answer for. So I don't know in this case maybe exactly the right answer, because this is, as we've said, a novel virus. We just don't know everything about it yet. But let's see if we can help Laura in Pennsylvania. Here's what she asked. Laura writes, my mom is a teacher in an elementary school and has a compromised immune system due to previous cancer treatment. A mother of one of the students is in quarantine from being in close proximity with someone who has the virus, but they're allowing the child to go to school. Should the child also be quarantined? And is this safe for my mom to go to work?
So the answer, at least for now, and I think it may depend if you have a lot of spread in your community, the Department of Health may suggest otherwise. But for the moment, if somebody is being, now let's just define what quarantine and isolation are. Quarantine is you are not sick, but you've been exposed, and you need to put yourself in quarantine for 2 to 14 days, which is the incubation period. Isolation, if you're in isolation because you don't want to infect other people. If you are an individual living in a home and you yourself are in quarantine because you were exposed, your contacts do not also need to be in quarantine, which means people who live with you are allowed to go out into the environment. The contact of a contact is not considered a risk. Again, if there's a lot of activity within your community of community spread, your Department of Health might say, listen, if one person in your house is quarantined, better to have everyone stay. But for the moment, when I spoke to our epidemiologist as of at least last week, contacts of contacts don't need to be in quarantine.
So Sean Morrison, I can't even imagine how many questions you're getting as the director of geriatrics and palliative medicine. I'm going to give you something specific from this 74-year-old by the name of JCB, but it's really as part of a larger question that we're hearing a lot about, like, how old is too old? There are a lot of healthy 75 and 80-year-olds. There are people who are maybe not so healthy, who are 60. In this case, this person says, I'm 74 with early onset COPD. I've had both a PCV13 shot and then PPSV23 for pneumonia protections, as have many other seniors. Are we protected, somewhat protected, or not? In other words, if I've gotten a shot, if I've gotten a flu shot, am I less likely to get this? What are you saying to the seniors that you deal with?
Right. So the first thing we're saying to seniors is what the question you had was, am I at risk? And the answer to that is We don't know exactly who is at risk, but we know that those over the age of 60 are at higher risk of having severe illness than those who are under age 60. And right now, we can't tell you exactly who's at higher risk within that group. What we also know is there is no current vaccine for COVID-19. So if you've had the flu shot, if you've had a pneumonia vaccine, even if you had a measles vaccine, that's not going to protect you from this particular virus.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date.
Yo.
Hello?
Can
you hear me?
Hello? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Damn, I'm wondering if it's like a big time delay. I hope not, man. But yeah,
Nah,
I
I
mean,
don't think
it's
it's gonna be that bad.
okay, cool. Just let me know if it's like if I experience the delay, if I drop off, just hit me up and let me know. But no, I think that the videos kind of said what what needed to be said. I think one of the things that I pull from it is that even the so-called experts and I want people to understand a lot of what this information was, these questions that were coming in, I would imagine the information that they was relaying, because they were using code words of people having actual quarantines in these households. And I think that, some of these people that they're talking about, I would basically make the assumption that they're talking about white people per se, even actually having quarantine responses within the household. Saying something like that even is kind of like beyond beyond the understanding of what most black people will even come to understand, not unless they've been in the military or in some kind of military extraction. So even having the word used as quarantine, I don't know exactly how that correlates to a lot of black people when they hear it. I think that most people think about movies when they see or hear the word quarantine, but quarantine just means that you just do a self-isolation, whether within your household or outside your household. Like they said, contact to contact is not bad, not unless you actually have the virus. But if what they say is true, most likely, if the virus is within a household, more than likely the inhabitants of that particular household, especially if it's a family, I would say probably most of them probably have it or whatnot. Probably just hasn't manifested itself as of yet, not unless they did, significant testing. And then even then, they said it's what, a 2 to 14 day incubation period. Is that correct? Yeah. So
that's what they're saying. The average is. It could be longer.
Yeah, we still don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like all this information, like this, people gotta understand. A lot of this is still brand new, a new strand that's connected to another strand as far as a virus is concerned. They don't really know everything that needs to be known about this particular virus. It's weird because when it hits different populations and different groups of people, I imagine that there's going to be different results and different, whether it's casualties or recoveries or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we have to pay extremely close attention because they're giving it out a little bits of it within a whole bunch of other information. You have to kind of watch everything. When you look at the number of people who had it in China and in other countries, South Korea, Italy, etc., they're not giving us, I haven't found it yet, a ton of information.
Right.
What they're trying to tell us in this country is that if you're over 50, 60, or 70, if you have underlying conditions like diabetes or heart disease, or if you're a heavy smoker, or if you have any type of breathing issues, it can impact you severely and even kill you. Obviously they apparently don't have any treatment yet. They do have some therapies they're working on. I'm not totally sure. They didn't really give details about what that means, but I know in Israel they supposedly were working on some gene therapy, whatever they were calling it, to sort of help with dealing with it until they can get the vaccines going. But the vaccines is 18 months, 12 months to 18 months out. I've heard 2 years because the thing is that they're trying not to create panic, and so they're trying to give us numbers that aren't crazy, in my opinion, of course, that aren't so far out there to where you're like, okay, maybe it's coming in 6 months. They said it's a year. And people are thinking different things, of course, but they said all the scientists I've seen for years have always said, a year, 18 months, 2 years, 4 years, because they don't know how people are going to respond to the vaccine.
Right.
So you don't know. It's all unknown, but they're giving answers, it seems, to kind of calm people down. But the one common thing I've noticed is that if you keep listening to all the doctors, because the doctors are kind of getting more attention right now in this country, mainly it's been politicians trying to protect themselves, the system, the economy. They're trying to protect things. They're not giving us obviously the correct information. The doctors, when they get a chance to talk, I could tell that they're a little bit under duress and really can't unleash what they really want to say.
Absolutely not. You can tell.
And because of that,
yeah,
you have to have the knowledge and understanding and intuition to kind of read between the lines, because they really don't know. And the other thing is that depending on how bad this gets, and I've heard that we're talking about 75 million to 150 million that potentially will at least get it. Many of them won't have any symptoms, of course, but it will run through your system.
Right.
And who knows how long it's going to take, 2 years, 3 years for it to kind of travel through most people. But with that said, they don't really know. They still really don't know. They saying right now it's not for kids. Kids aren't impacted, but do they really know at this point?
No, they don't know. And here's the thing too. One of the, and we talked about this earlier. A virus like this super weapon is carriers. And who are carriers? Carriers are those people that look extremely healthy, say like your premium athlete, like a Donovan Mitchell, somebody that did not exhibit any symptoms. Plenty healthy, ready to play ball, ready to get out there and do his thing. And without the additional testing that they ran through with him, he wouldn't have shown a positive test result. Now think about that. This is a premium athlete, perfectly fine, felt healthy, everything, and did not know that he was positive for the coronavirus. Now this is a carrier. That's what I'm saying. This is significant testing now. Now think about what's being reported. Now, and here's another thing that I want to kind of speak about. Things that we know that's being reported as of right now. But these are numbers that I'm giving out that are actually confirmed, okay, that you can look up yourself. They're saying that as of today, there was 80,796 cases in China, the mainland, where the virus basically inhibited at. There is 3,169 deaths. That is not a good ratio. That is not a good ratio, people. And we're talking about China here. Now, a lot of people talk about China like it's the next superpower. Now, think about that for a second. 80,796 people contracted this particular so-called COVID-19. I don't even want to call it the flu. I want to call it by its name, right? COVID-19. They don't even know technically what it is as of yet, right? 3,169 confirmed deaths. Now, we know how people love to underreport because, like you just said, nobody wants to cause a so-called panic here. See, nobody wants to say 10,000, right? Now, here's where it gets tricky, right? 62,826 they got on record as recovered from the particular virus, which means that they're in the clear, so-called. As of right now, they don't know what kind of incubation period. They don't know whether this virus has a propensity to come back, where it can lay dormant and then attack your immune system.
Two things about that. They don't know if once you get it and get through it, will you have a short-term immunity towards it or a permanent immunity towards, or a long-term?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
immunity towards it. So It's either or, but they don't know until time will only let us know that information.
And that is
they
a
don't
year's
yet
time.
Know about this virus. Yeah,
that's
it
a
could
whole
blow
cycle.
back up in 6 months. In
that's
places.
a year's time that they said. The 6 months to a year time that they can actually be for sure what the actual reaction is to the virus. And even then, you're still working on on a very slippery slope.
And also China specifically, they claim is using very draconian measures to control their population to get that thing in check.
Absolutely.
But the one thing that they're being I don't want to call it, use the word praised for, is the ability, supposedly they was able to get triage hospitals in place within a very short amount of time. As far as having enough beds, as far as being their ramping up process, they said was impressive so far. But again, I don't want to say that's confirmed or unconfirmed information, but that is something that's in the media, just to put that out there.
Now, how much wise here in the United States have actually tested for this particular virus? Percentage wise, where would you have it at?
Nobody's been tested. Right now it's 5 in 1 million. That's the numbers of yesterday. Compared to South Korea,
how can we even
is about 3,600 per 1 million of whatever, 5,500 per 1 million. China's a little bit above that, a little bit below that number.
Right, where you think you're speaking about authoritarian government, which is like China, and then I think Italy, they have forced everybody to be quarantined and tested to.
Well, Asia has done the best job so far up until this date with this stuff.
Right, so I'm saying they're going in and giving out, testing people whether you want to be tested or not.
Well,
like
China's forcing it. South Korea is not the same type of place. So South Korea is more of a democracy. So they're not forcing it, but they took it seriously. Italy thought it was a joke, and some other European countries thought it was a joke. America thought it was a joke, and so they're playing politics with it. I mean, we've elected people, and this person have put people in charge of departments and have defunded things, and it's basically a catastrophe because of that. I mean, it's a direct correlation between election, the person that got selected, the person that they put in charge, and the things that they defunded within the government. In this type of system, there's no real infrastructure when it comes to these type of things. They don't happen often, obviously, but you have people who know that it's going to happen and want to be prepared for it. But the way the government is set up recently, they've defunded all those agencies and stuff.
And when you're saying that they defunded the actual agency or the group that actually looked into this, so the president before, which would be
he disbanded the group that Obama put in place.
Right. So Barack Hussein Obama put in place
the Ebola virus in 2014.
Virus, right? Put in place a pandemic team or agency to deal with certain issues as of what we're going through right now, right? Basically, and
the scientists have already said that we're going to be getting more outbreaks in the future, so they already know this was going to happen,
right? And Trump then actually came through and said, "What's the need for this? Right? This is on the books.
I won't just do him. I'm going to do him. I'm going to do, I guess, people who are maybe really far right, so who believes in defunding the government programs. So I'm gonna put them all kind of in one box. He's the head of that because he's the one who got elected as president. But I'm going to include probably Mitch McConnell, other Senate leaders, and whoever else that fund them as well. Obviously, wants to keep the government, kind of crippled. They want to kind of underfund. Like Obamacare, they figured out ways to try to undermine it and defund it. So I mean, it's a whole list. People should just know this already, obviously, but there's a whole list of things that the right tends to underfund when it comes to government program. That's just a common left-right political thing in general. But because of what just happened or what's happening now, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how citizens in the country, how they're going to process the information based off how they get it and how they look at ensure that states and governments have the
you dropped out for a second there.
Oh, I thought. Oh, okay. I thought well, you dropped off.
Oh, so that was
I didn't
me.
see you no more.
Oh, okay, that was me. Okay,
It could have been both of us. Who knows?
now go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
Like I was saying, like I said, I don't know how, because I'm not trying to put information into anybody's head. I'm just trying to be more in the question space if I can, and just say, you know, expectations, interpretation, like how do you, I'm trying to get, because the thing is that you're dealing with multiple things at once if you're trying to understand this stuff. And so again, in my opinion, the government is real. There's such thing as a federal government, and all that stuff these are real people that are in charge of things. And I don't even care about conspiracy at this point, honestly. The thing is that if you are on the right, you support what you support. If you're on the left, you support what you support. And even the left, when they're in charge, in my opinion, they really don't fund. They just fund things more, I think, but they're not really that much. I don't consider them that separate because they really don't overfund things, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're just making sure that things are just loaded up, because again, a lot of them don't think the government should have as much. And that's even me. I even get caught up in that. Like, we spend too much money on the government. You need to shrink it.
Right.
So it's not even just it's just in general, because these type of things don't happen on this scale. But even when the crash happened, or because of the housing crisis and the derivatives and stuff that happened back in 08 or whatever. Even then, what I'm more interested in, though, is making sure certain things are funded correctly. And so, I wouldn't personally have an issue making sure that when it comes to healthcare, that's not fully funded. I mean, that's one thing I advocate for. I think that everyone having access to healthcare is kind of if we can afford it, of course, obviously makes sense. And I wonder, will this situation sort of push over into that space of universal healthcare, or will corporations do not a bad job at it, and people say, well, we had private healthcare and they actually didn't let us die. They waived fees,
Right.
They allowed testing, because that could happen. I mean, they have said they're going to do it, but I know how corporations operate. They say a whole lot of things. They ain't trying to do anything now. They're trying to keep all their money. And so it sounds good today. And I know that people in general get distracted and time go by. And just because you heard, you're like, oh, they said they're going to do it. You don't think about it. And then months and months later, you find out it's still not happening. Like for the VA, you had troops waiting, they basically was dying, waiting 18 months, 22 months to get into the doctor's office. You know what I'm saying? That's still happening. I think it's still these huge delays for the veterans to get treated for different things. So we know that the whole health system isn't maybe where it should be, unless you're rich, of course, or you have good benefits, I should say, as well, or what you think is good benefits. But when it's a quote unquote pandemic and it affects the whole planet on some level, what we don't know is when things are somewhat operating, you can afford to handle some things when it comes to making sure people get the proper treatment. But once people stop working, once people stop buying, because our economy is 80% consumption, and so the economy is mostly driven by us going out, being sold on commercials, going out and buying houses and and everything else. And so it sort of disrupts that process. And I'm not totally sure if it's ever happened on this level where you're not going to bars, you're not going to the casino, you're not going to schools. People have a lot of what are people going to do to generate money to be able to spend money into the economy for the economy to run? You're not flying planes, you're not getting on cruise ships. I mean, this is an endless endless snowball, really, dominoes that's going to keep falling for months now. And if you shut things down even for a month, I'm not sure this system can handle it. You're talking about the Dow drop, what is it, about 8,000 points at this point? That's just one of the indexes, drop 8,000, 9,000 points. You're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars. And it's a strong possibility that we're going to get millions of layoffs, because I'm not totally sure the government and the banks can really support us for much longer than maybe a month, if that. I don't even think there's a plan for this. So it's a lot of unknown, a lot of question marks at play, and the systems that we rely on are being tested. And I think if people believed more in these systems and recognize these systems more, maybe people will participate more within the environment to make sure these things are more robust and not be distracted by a lot of other nonsense. I think DC may have dropped off on me. I think I'm still alive. I don't know what's going on with his system, or maybe I dropped off. I don't even know. Mm, Are you on? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should be, but I don't know if I'm off or if he's off. I think that's me. Yeah, I think he dropped off. Let me call him real quick, because he might be talking. I don't even know it. Sorry, people listening in. I'm having some technical difficulties today. All right, he's about to get back on in a second. Just hold on for a moment.
original emergence in Wuhan, China in December of this year. Over the past 2.5 months, the epidemic has progressed. The first two, China was the center of the outbreak, and Wuhan province and central China in particular was impacted. As of now, there have been over 80 confirmed cases in China and over 3,000 deaths. However, as of about a week ago, the number of cases occurring outside of China began to exceed the number of cases occurring within China, both because of spread of the virus around the world and also because the number of new cases in China has begun to decline. Outside of China, there's been cases reported now from some 85 nations, of course, including the United States. Overall, over 10,000 cases have been reported from outside of China. The hotspots currently are in the Republic of South Korea. Also, a number of cases have been reported with community transmission in Japan. And then the two other regional hotspots are Europe, particularly with cases emanating out of outbreaks that were occurring in communities in northern Italy, and also the eastern Mediterranean region with cases emanating from Iran, particularly the town of Qom. Here in the United States, the number of cases has increased over days, with reports of cases
Well, I was running so. Oh, we see. Yo, you gotta get off mute, man. I'm off mute now. I know you got it on your phone.
Yo, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
I can hear you. He dropped out again.
Investors. You know, if you're in relative value, if in arbitrage, this is a great environment for you. If you're an agile day trader, if you're a long-term investor looking to put money to work, I would wait. And it's not just because of the economics, which we know because of the sudden stops, the supply and demand disruptions and destructions we're seeing. Carl, we started seeing today more market stress, more liquidity stress. Yesterday it was just a credit market. Today it got to the treasury market. So be careful out there is what I tell people.
Where does that go, that stress? I mean, how bad are things looking in places like the treasury market and the credit market?
So bad enough for the New York Fed to announce a massive increase in repo. So clearly they finally paid attention. They finally
Hello, can you hear me? This breaking up. I don't know if it's can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Man, this sucks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Man, this is did the I saw the video playing. Did the video continue to go all the way through, or did it
No, it froze up on us.
oh man.
Yeah, you on your phone?
Yeah, I had to jump on my phone, man. I had to run a quick errand real quick, but yeah, it was kind of like an emergency that I was told that I had to do something. So, of course, helping people out, man. You know how that go.
Yeah, I know.
But no, do this for me. I think that I don't know if anybody is listening in the stream that want to participate.
We can read. I was gonna have us try to do it maybe a little bit later because my network is keep acting crazy.
So yours is acting crazy. Mine was acting crazy before I even actually left.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, well, we could do that, man. We could reconvene, man. You know, get up a little bit later and do a late night. It seemed like at the late night, probably the best time for us to do ours anyway. So
Yeah, because every time we get it going, it starts to jam up. So I want to kind of close all my stuff down and see what's up. Get it, pull everything back up, see how it works.
All right, so we'll do that then. So then I guess we can kind of continue. Did you have any closing thoughts that you wanted to leave out there, just in case?
Man, that's it. Just just take care of yourself and your family. That's all I could say.
Yeah, but everybody that's out there, we do apologize. We ran into some technical difficulties today, but today of all days. Anyway, hopefully we'll come back on and we can kind of finish up and do the program and give a little bit more of an overview about what we think is going on with this whole virus thing. But just as an aside, outside of that, be wary about who you listen to and discern all the information that you receive out there. I like to leave it at that. I think just doing what you can to take care of you and yours, and you should be as fine as you can possibly be, and then everything else, whatever your design on the creator or creators, however you deem to believe in, whatever that is, maybe tap into that source and look outward.
All right. Well, this is the Code Breaker. This is Paradox.
And this is D. Until next time. Peace.